We're being joined right now by Professor Jody Armour. He is a professor of law at USC. He's also an author and an activist. And Jasiri X, founder of One Hood. He's an artist and, just a really powerful artist at that. So we have a new president. We have a new district attorney. We have Measure J, which, is, as we've said, putting our protests into policy. I think we have a lot more of that to do. And certainly we are looking at a 2021 with the new administration. I want to keep taking phone calls because people are in their feelings right now. But I want to start off with just, your reaction right now to this moment. And I think, for me as a person who's not just an activist, but on the air, sometimes the accountability piece is tricky. Tracking what did they vote? What did they do? What are they doing next? The media doesn't make it easier. You have to really be engaged in some kind of way to do that. And I'm really looking forward to doing that with this administration because, as Angela Davis pointed out, we are one of the reasons we're voting for Biden is because the Biden-Harris ticket is the more amenable to being lobbied by the left, by progressives, for the anti-racist movement, for all of the things that we're protesting for. So, Professor Armour, talk to me about that in this moment.
Yeah, I am like you, celebrating Dominique most for the power of the people that we saw. That's a cliche. You hear it, and sometimes it rings hollow. But what we saw was 6 weeks of day in and day out filling the streets of L.A. with righteous indignation over the need for criminal justice reform and systemic racism and structural racism. And the voters heard the people in the streets. The voters heard. They went to the ballot and to the ballot box, and they cast ballots that clearly were lined up with what the protesters were demanding when it came to criminal justice reform anyway, both with respect to Proposition 20, that is, they rejected retrenchment, they rejected going back on some of our reforms from earlier, Measure J, taking 10% of the budget and dedicating it. This was essentially defund the police, right? They heard that. Taking 10% of the LA County unrestricted funds and dedicating that to non-carceral alternatives to incarceration interventions of different kinds, right? That's jaw-dropping. We are now at the vanguard nationally in LA of criminal justice reform. But the combination of a progressive prosecutor and all of those ballot measures, Measure J, et cetera, put us really at the vanguard and show the power of organization. That's Black Lives Matter going back to 2013 and 14 when the cameras and journalists went away. The organizers kept organizing. The sinews of connection, the network kept building until, when George Floyd came along, the infrastructure was already there and they just took it to the next level. But people forget how much work went into keeping that infrastructure there.
Jasiri X, your thoughts in this moment, looking at, where we go from here.
Yeah, once again, I think that, particularly it was, as a hip hop artist, it was disheartening to see a lot of these rappers, that, who I respect and love, kind of, throw themselves out there in a way that I felt wasn't, definitely wasn't conducive to really helping and moving our community forward. And so it was like I said, man, I think that to me, this was a victory, like the professor said, for the organizers. It wasn't about like some particular celebrity, you know what I'm saying? And some, because I think that's sometimes in this moment, organizing, like a lot of people feel like we need celebrity. We need, we need.
But it's nice when they do their part. Look,
what'd you say?
But it's nice when they do their part. We're talking
absolutely.
on a radio station right now owned by a celebrity, which, who's also an activist. Stevie Wonder. But I say that partially in jest because it's nice when they step up and do their part.
Look at what LeBron did.
Hello.
Look at what LeBron did with using his money and his resources to help, voters get registered, to put people at the polls, to help move this thing forward. So just like you said, when they do it and it's done in a way, to me, that is a way to like uplift our community, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's about who do you have on the ground. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and to me, that's what I see happening. It was the folks on the ground in L.A. It was the folks on the ground in places like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, on the ground in places like Atlanta, where, these white supremacists were threatening us with violence. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know going in if there were even going to be violence at the polls when we went to vote. You know what I'm saying? So what we did in Pittsburgh, and I know they did it in certain places, we had DJs at the poll. We had food trucks at the poll where we made it a celebration.
Yeah,
you know
Black Lives Matter had that going on here. Yeah, at the Staples Center for sure. All day party was really nice. Okay, let's go to Ray from Atlanta by way of LA. Don't know what that means, but good morning, Ray, and welcome.
What's up, Dominique? Oh, that means I relocated to Atlanta now. I'm no longer in L.A.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. But my topic is conversation for everybody. Okay, now we made this milestone. We got over that hurdle, but the real battle start now. Let's not celebrate. I'm with Puffy. We need to start our own party so we can have somebody at the table representing us, truly representing us. You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, we how long we gonna continue to let these, and forgive me, white folks continue to make decisions upon us without us being at that round table. So now we need to organize and move forward and fight that fight. And my last statement is, where do Ice Cube go now? Do we take his black plan to go back to the Democrats now?
You talking about Ice Cube's black contract for Black America? Yeah. Okay. So don't hang up yet, Ray, because I think we got to unpack some of the things you said. First of all, a lot of the things that are in Ice Cube's contract for Black America are in legislation that's sitting in the Congressional Black Caucus. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So the one step would be to elect a Senate that will pass things so that we can do some of it from a legislative perspective. But to your point about another party, what about that? Jody Armour, he's saying, we need to have our own party. Third parties in this country haven't been that successful. But how do you take it from, within this sort of traditional party system to a more Afrocentric or Black-centered agenda from a party politics perspective?
Yeah, now you're getting, Dominique, into the real structural stuff, right? Can we think about an alternative party? Because oftentimes, you'll have, maybe, you'll say, wet blankets like me, kind of stick in the mud like me, who'll come along and say, well, let's not celebrate too much because we still do have an America who almost 50% of a whole lot of whom were willing to support an avowedly virulent, racist and misogynist and all kinds of other stuff. But we often have to choose between, we have to choose the lesser of available evils, we often feel. We have to choose the lesser available evils when you only have two parties. If you have a third party, now you don't have to necessarily choose the lesser available evils if that third party really speaks to your interests, is really reflective of what you are about, and is going to, stay on message with respect to your concerns. And there are people, making noises like that. And I think it could. I don't know about an all black party. That I hear that too. An all national. But I mean, a coalition party with black folks who want racial and social justice. Who recognize that, places like Skid Row here in LA are 75% black. That's like the Ninth Ward, only day in and day out for years in and year out. So they recognize that and don't give short shrift to those race issues, but also talk about economic justice and take it seriously and aren't in the corporate pocket.
But how does it become, viable? I mean, plenty of people, myself included, wonder if we would have had a President George Bush if it wasn't for Ralph Nader, and his aspirations in the Green Party. People are talking about the Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen in 2020 pulling Trump's voters away in some states and maybe even costing him a race or two. So how do they become more than spoilers and become actual factors like they are in other countries?
Right, and that's what keeps us kind of in bondage to the two-party system, right? That logic, and you're right. It's irresistible logic, it feels like, right? Most times, Dominique, it really is. And the only way to break out of that logic is to get a viable third party. You know, some of those parties didn't have a big enough buy-in, you know, by enough folks. But, you know, so you need a real, you know, a lot of people who are sick of, you know, what they do. And I'm talking about a lot of white folks now, not you know, and middle class, upper class white folks as well as working class, who say, I'm tired of two parties being beholden to corporate interests. You know, like two wings of corporate America. I want something alternative. I want populism. You know, Bernie Sanders kind of had a populist message. His race stuff was messed up, but you know, he had a lot of economic populism that people were wrapping their arms around. So, you know, there may be enough of us to come together in a viable, but you're right, Dominique, we got to be serious about it. We can't just fill at windmills because, you know, there's too much at stake.
Jasiri, you want to come in on that concept that what Ray was talking about is also his question, because you are a rap artist, about the follow-up to Ice Cube's plan. Jasiri, you there?
My disappointment with Ice Cube, and of course, you know, I'm a Ice Cube fan. I'm a fan of how he moved. It was like, so we're going to have a viable party. It has to include. It can't just be the Ice Cube or Diddy. It has to include these activists that have been on the ground, that are actually the ones turning out these races. My disappointment with Ice Cube is that every time Ice Cube talked about the contract of Black America, it was just him. He said Dr. Claude Anderson helped him with this. Why isn't Dr. Claude Anderson with you? Where are the people that you say that you gathered that were experts along these things to help you put this together? And I think what we're trying to move beyond in our community is this focus on like one charismatic leader or a celebrity leader. It has to be a collective and coalition for the party to actually matter, right? The Democratic Party, you know, it was Obama, and then guess what? They're able to switch and bring somebody else along. This is what the Republicans do as well. So if we're going to put a party together, it has to start from the people. It can't be celebrity down. It has to be people up. And so I would first start with those. And I think LA would be a great test case because, like the professor said, like he said, you all have come together collectively and put some of the most progressive measures around policing and around criminal justice that we've seen. So what does it mean to gather those organizations and those folks that collectively put something together and say, let's start running our own candidates? I mean, you have the Working Families Party. They've been doing stuff on the East Coast. They've made some noise as an alternative to Democrats and Republicans, but it has to be a grassroots, people-led thing. It can't be some dude who's a celebrity. We know him because of his raps, and he has some money, and now he wants to be the face of everything. That's not how it works.
Well, the other thing about that is, I mean, Dr. Claude Anderson, I know folks love him, but he was part of the Clinton administration in some kind of tangential way. So if you're talking about going to people outside of the system, I'm not sure that's where I would start.
I know Ice Cube mentioned him, and like I said, but my issue was I just kept seeing Ice Cube. And it's like at the end of the day, Ice Cube, you're a rapper and an actor. You know what I'm saying? Right. Not to say that you don't have the intelligence to bring and the celebrity and the power and the money to bring folks together, but can you show me who else did you brought together? Who else were you working with? Where are these people? Can I hear from them? What are their backgrounds? That's what I never saw. It just was Ice Cube.
Well, and the other thing is, I feel like every time we talk about a black agenda, people act like it's something we're starting from scratch. Exactly. You know, people, I think my dad convened conventions on the black agenda like in the 70s, right? And we have,
Absolutely.
And there's a black agenda, there's the Institute for the Black World, and there's,
Yep.
the reparations, the ADOS have a black agenda, and the Congressional Black Caucus has a black agenda, and the Urban League has a black agenda, and Black Lives Matter has a very clear, long list of demands that constitute a black agenda. So it's not like we have a shortage of a black agenda. It's coming together to make those things, as Professor Jody Armour said earlier, to make them actually stick as policy.
Hey, Dominique, one more thing before we go.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we got to have one more black agenda. We got to set them Lil Waynes and 50 Cent that's just running for the money, who really don't give a damn about what we going through. Like a Scurry just said. I hope I pronounced his name right. But who don't give a damn about us on the ground. Like these rappers just running over there and pulling just. And this is the second time Lil Wayne did something ignorant. He didn't did what he talked about.
Right. So where's the accountability? Is that what you're saying, Ray?
Right. We gotta thank them for that. Thank them
That's
for
a
that.
different party. That's called the party of your neighborhood. That's good.
Right. Thank you, Dominique, for taking my call.
All right. I appreciate your thoughts. Right. We have Cicely and Unity calling us. Good morning.
Oh my gosh.
Hello? Is this
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan.
Is Cicely? Hi, is this Cicely or Unity?
This is Unity.
Good morning, Unity. Thank you for calling.
Yes, so I'm Unity. The first time I saw you, I was at the African American dancing. I'm half African, Mexican, Asian, Indian, and I just wanted to say hi. I'm just one of your number one big fans. And I feel so happy because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Wow, you got the African and the Indian. You got a little bit of the Kamala Harris mix going on in your own DNA, huh, Unity?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, how old are you?
I am 7. I'm getting ready to turn 8 in December.
Wow. Well, I'm going to give you props for, paying attention to what's happening politically at your age, and also for dancing and being a cultural worker who's out here cheering people up and giving us positivity and tradition to focus on through your work as a dancer.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Unity?
No, but this is my mom. She's getting ready to talk.
Hi, Dominique. Hi, I just
mom.
want to thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. I'm not a big political person. I do vote, but this election, you really helped me with the propositions. I listen to you every morning while I'm getting ready for work, and you really opened my eyes to a lot of the propositions and a lot of, things going on in the community. I just want to thank you for everything that you do, and I hope you run for office.
Thank you. What's your name, Unity's mom?
Cecily.
Cecily. Okay, Cecily. I appreciate you, and what a beautiful young girl you have brought forth into this world. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, that was a great example of another reason to celebrate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things, Dominique, I'll just say real quickly that I noticed in 2013-14 when the BLM, kind of marches started was how many young people were involved, 10, 9, 8. And you see with Unity, as young as 7, having awareness of the world. I had none of that awareness when I was that age, back when, so it's really amazing.
Yeah, and she sounded like she had the perfect name. I know one thing. I promised my son that Donald Trump wasn't going to win when he won in 2016. And my boy was like 9. And I think he hasn't believed me about one single thing ever since then. And I promised him again this time. So maybe I'll get some of my mom credibility back after this election. You told me there was no way he would win. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Dominique, I think a lot of us felt that way in 2016. I tell you, I hate to say this, I probably would have damn near bet my house in 2016 that he wasn't going to win, but he did, right? But then I think, here 4 years later, we weren't ready to bet our house because, and so I think we've learned that, but it is a relief that, that part is behind us and we can focus on some of these other battles.
Jasiri, you want to comment on what Unity had to say?
Yeah, well, I was going to just kind of follow up on the discussion that you all were saying. Also, I think in 2016, it wasn't any real investment that we saw by the Clinton campaign in those black community, in those organizers. Remember, in 2016, we was out in the streets organizing against police violence. It wasn't like it didn't start this year, but it did. The Clinton campaign didn't really seem to be interested in investing in those organizers on the ground in places like Atlanta, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Milwaukee. And look, what do we find out? It turns out that if you invest in these organizers, these black-led organizations, guess what? We can get our community out and change the dynamic of this election. And so I think that was the hard lesson that the Democratic Party had to learn in 2016, because I think they felt like, oh, Trump's racist. You know, the blacks and the indigenous folks, they're just going to come out and vote for Hillary Clinton, and it did not happen that way.
Yep, that was a great example of us being taken for granted. Elma from Compton, go ahead.
And my condolences regarding your mother to you and your entire family.
Elma.
And thank you for the work you've been doing, the coverage you've been giving us. I'm dittoing Unity's mother, and I hope Attorney Martin is still listening, because I want to thank her for the political work that she's done, and also for the special needs children and adults, which has personally touched my family. And to these young men that are on, I'm older. All of you are much younger than me, and I want to thank you for the work that you've done, the grassroots work that you've done and that you are doing. Stacey Abrams, and like you say, Dominique, the more people say, what does the marching do? The marching, the demonstration, the organizing turns into policy. And we have to garner this momentum now and keep this momentum and help the Democrats that will be in runoffs in these Senate races against Republicans. We have to work. As Dr. Karinga says, the struggle continues, and we must continue. And I was just so inspired by the little young lady, Unity.
She was a cutie.
This is just great, but our work continues, and I'm so proud of the young men that are on the phone for the work that they're doing, the grassroots work, because it's public pressure. Like they said, Johnson didn't want to sign those bills, but because of public pressure, that they do what we can make them do when we unify. And I'm just elated this morning.
Thank you for your wisdom. I love the way you framed everything and sort of brought us together in this moment. It was really, really nice. So last words for us this morning, Jody Armour and Jasiri X. Who wants to go first?
I'm going to let you, Jared, because I spent 5 years at the University of Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh, so I'm going to defer to Pittsburgh.
All right, Jasiri X.
Yeah, well, I mean, once again, I think you know, Dominique, you provided that perfect balance. You know, we're gonna celebrate. We can be happy. We're gonna share these memes. You know, with Joe Biden dunking on Donald Trump. But you know, it is kind of cautious optimism, because at this point, we still don't know if Donald Trump is going to just go ahead and concede. You know what I'm saying? He's making it seem like he's not. We don't know if what these next few months where he still is in office, what he is going to do, could possibly do. So there's that cautious optimism. But I would say, you know, if you know somebody that's been active, that's been pushing, just shoot that, you know, hit that person up, thank them, shoot that person a text, man. You know, voices like yours, Dominique, on the radio, are voices in the community that, you know, a lot of places don't have anymore. So it's a blessing for Los Angeles to have you and your voice. And then I always want to say, you know, just as a hip hop artist on the radio in LA, just, you know, rest in power with our brother Nipsey Hussle, man. He was just so influential to myself and to a lot of us, you know, in terms of how we need to move as artists with community first. You know what I'm saying?
All right, thanks for that. And Professor Jody Armour.
Yeah, I'm just going to add, Dominique, you've been, you know, a real trooper on this stuff for all the time I've been out here in LA, and you know, can't stop, won't stop. I really appreciate your voice. And I'm, you know, sobered in some ways, you know, looking at some of the increase in support for Trump in some groups, you know, apparently his support among white women actually went up a point or two, and some other groups went up. It makes me worry about the kind of nation we're in on the one hand. On the other hand, I am lifted. My spirits are just, I'm over the moon about what happened in the streets, and we all saw it with our own eyes. We saw, you know, grassroots activism translate into action at the ballot box and fresh new policy, and black women who were at the forefront. You know, that needs to be recorded loud and clear as we're going along. And now put LA at the very vanguard of the criminal justice movement nationwide. It's an awesome day in that respect.
Thank you, Professor Jody Armour and Brother Jasiri X. I appreciate you guys so very much. Family, we're going to keep it going. We have a new president. The 46th president will be sworn in January, no matter how many lawsuits are filed by the 5th president. So, it's not too late. Let's talk about this. Let's talk it out, wind it down, celebrate it, whatever you want to do. 520-KJLH. We are you, which means we are definitely here for you. We got that radio freedom for you. Radio Free 102.3 KJLH.